Welcome to Rites of Passage, Stories of Service, presented by Milltree Veteran Project. I'm Dawn Davis, and in this 5-episode series, you'll hear from participants of Milltree's recent Rites of Passage program. Milltree is a nonprofit organization based in Joshua Tree, California, creating community between veterans, service members, and civilians through the arts, dialogue, shared projects, and creative entrepreneurship. Running from February through June of 2026, Rites of Passage brought participants together for a weekend retreat, writing workshops, performance coaching, and live storytelling events, offered to participants at no cost through the support of the California Arts Council Community Impact Grant and generous community donors. I'm talking with Omar Columbus, an Air Force veteran, artist, photographer, poet, performer, and curator. Omar served 12 years on active duty, including during Operations Iraqi Freedom and Enduring Freedom, before building a creative career focused on exploring the military experience through art and storytelling. His work examines identity, service, transition, and the often unseen emotional impact of military life. Through Rites of Passage, Omar crafted and performed a piece titled The Day the War Began, reflecting on memory, family, duty, and the realities of preparing for war. Today he joins us to discuss service, creativity, and the role storytelling plays in healing and understanding. Thanks for being here.
My pleasure to be here. Glad to be here.
Where's your accent from, friend?
A small town called Washington, North Carolina.
What's the closest town people would know next to it?
Possibly Greenville, North Carolina. If not, we're about 2 hours east of Raleigh going towards the Outer Banks.
Oh, okay. So a little more north than I was thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We're actually the Inner Banks, they call us, because you have the Atlantic Ocean, then you have the Barrier Islands, and then you have the coast, what do you call it? The sound that comes into the state.
Okay.
And I'm one of the coastal towns there. That's Washington.
Okay. I had some time in Charlotte.
Totally.
The Charlotte area, Harrisburg. Yeah. Way on the other side.
Yeah, the other side.
Way on the other side. But I did make it down to, I'm trying to remember, there's an island off the coast, and you had to take a ferry over, and you could only drive golf carts on the, or walk. That was, yeah. If it comes to me, I'll mention it. But what inspired you to join the service?
Well, I graduated high school back in 1994, and at that time in Washington, North Carolina, there was no future for me. I mean, as far as work prospect, we had a couple of big factories in our town, one that made yarn and one that made filters. And either that or go to college. I always had good grades, but I didn't get a scholarship at that time. So I'm the oldest of three, and a single mother raised us. So I figured I had to get out and do something. So I had uncles that had been in the Army, and I knew I was never cut out for the Army. So I had one of my other uncles who was a Marine, and he told me, he said, "You're smart, go to the Air Force." And I didn't even know what exactly it was. Like, what's the Air Force? And so just for the prospects of work and just getting out of my small conservative town, I was excited and afraid to join the Air Force, but more excited.
Okay. Do they do boot camp with Air Force?
Yes, they do, down in Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was my first time on an airplane flying to Texas to go to boot camp.
And what time of year were you there doing boot camp?
I went in November of 94.
So, a little cooler, maybe.
A little cooler.
Yeah.
And but still had plenty of warm days.
And were you deployed? You were deployed.
Yes.
Yes.
I was deployed, and I got deployed in October 2002 to Prince Sultan Air Base, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And then the Air Force had been there at that base supporting Operation Southern Watch ever since Desert Storm. Okay. And so we were patrolling the 33rd parallel, just making sure no Iraqi jets came through the no-fly zones. And so we were already there just doing that normal rotation of deployment. But we knew something was going to happen. And in March of 2003, Operation Iraqi Freedom happened.
Wow.
So they said we got there and our orders were supposed to be 90 days, and they went from 90-day deployment to indefinite. So we didn't know when we were going to get to leave.
Wow, how did that feel?
Horrible. I was terrified because I was ready to go home. It was hot over there, and I already had to spend the holidays over there, so my holidays have never been the same again. And then going from that directly into war, yeah, terrifying.
No doubt.
Yeah.
I know in your piece that you read, was that the war you were doing all the checkoffs of everything you were putting on your person that you had to have, and then made the phone call to your mom?
Yeah.
And she said at the end of the call,
she said, I was telling her bye, and she said, don't say bye, say see you later. And honestly, I still think about that phone call, and it was honestly one of the hardest phone calls I ever had to make, because I left the South afraid and scared, and I just wanted my mother to be proud of me. I looked around at my other peers in my family around my age, and a couple of them had been to jail, a couple of them had been, things like that, and like I've seen their mothers upset about going to the courthouse and, having to get them out of jail. And I was just thinking to myself, like, I never wanted my mother to stress about anything, but now I'm over here doing America's business, which is war. And my mother almost had almost had a stroke. Aww. Just her blood pressure went up so high, and just worried about me. And I just never thought I would do that by going into the military.
Right.
So this is one of the toughest phone calls, to call her and let her know that from the time the first sortie launches, there will be no more unofficial communication until the end of the war.
Wow.
So it was about 46 days before I can call her and let her know that I was okay.
Wow. That's hard. Hard on everybody. Hard on the ones at home. And hard especially on you all.
I wasn't as much worried about myself. I didn't want anything to happen to me, and then, the guys in the blue uniform come knocking at our door. And so I was more worried about that than my day-to-day actions in some ways.
So once you got into the Air Force, what kind of jobs were you doing in there?
I began my career in transportation squadron. I was a heavy equipment operator.
Oh, wow.
I drove tow trucks, buses, forklifts, tractor trailers. But I wasn't good at that.
Did you get in accidents?
Yes.
Oh no.
I wasn't cut out for that career field. I got in a couple of accidents, and then after that, I kind of went the more protocol route, where I just started driving generals. So I had to wear my blue uniform, service uniform more often, and the other guys didn't want to do that anyway. But mine was just dealing with distinguished visitors, and the generals picking them up from the airport, dropping them off here and there, and doing things like that. So, but it worked out for me, because I talked to the general, and I was coming up to the end of my enlistment, and the general was so impressed with me, and I told him I was getting out. He said, "What do I have to do to keep you in my Air Force?" Wow. And I told him, I want to retrain, because this is not the correct career field for me. And so I went and met one of the counselors down base and put in an application. I retrained into military intelligence, and I was an operations intelligence analyst. So totally different from
completely
washing buses and changing tires.
Yeah, no kidding. Wow. And that must have been really interesting.
That was one of the hardest training that I ever went through, just mentally.
Sure.
There's so much memorization. We had to memorize. I look at it now like so much useless information, because now everything is changed, and it's no longer relevant to things I had to learn back then. Sure. But just the training was challenging, and then for me, a big part of my job was going to be public speaking and briefing. So I had to brief the generals on, like fighter pilots, on which bombs go in their jet, how high to fly, how fast to fly, how to ingress into their target and egress back safely. Wow. So totally different world. And one of the big challenges for me was when I went back to school for intel. The second day, they made me stand up in front of the class and for 8 minutes just talk about myself. And that's one of the hardest things to do, to talk about yourself. And for 8 minutes.
8 minutes feels like an hour.
Yeah. And but basically they were getting us, you have to get over stage fright.
Sure.
You have to get over the stage fright. You have to be able to, this is going to be your job to stand there and breathe.
Yeah.
And I had an instructor that, I don't know if he was challenging me or bullying me, but he told me that, that my accent was so thick that no general would ever want to hear me talk. And I was just like, but this is my job. Mm-hmm. So I had to push through that, and I came out on top, though.
Good for you.
So it was a lot of challenges, but worth it in the end, worth the fight to make it through the school.
Sure, yeah. Sounds like it was a much better fit for you. And
totally.
Yeah, and much more interesting.
So
also.
much more interesting.
Yeah.
Like, just the opportunity to be right there around the fighter pilots, and especially having that much responsibility of basically telling them where to go, and if they're going to go into an area that has surface-to-air missiles that can knock their jet out of the sky. So just basically being their eyes, the last thing that they hear before they launch. Yeah. And the first thing that they hear when they land, because I debrief them, did you see these things out there? Did you see anything I didn't tell you about?
Wow, that's so interesting. And I don't think that's a part of the service that many people hear about. Right?
No. Yeah. And plus it works into the classified world as well.
Right. So, I was going to say, if you can't talk.
You can't talk about a lot
there's something
things.
You can't talk about.
So I really enjoyed intelligence. I worked with the fighter pilots, and then my last assignment, I got stationed in Colorado Springs, and I worked at Headquarters Air Force Space Command. Nice. And there I was a ballistic missile intelligence analyst.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was totally different. And I had to go back to school to learn space. Space was a totally different entity than the fighter jet, so we had to go back through another few months of training just to be able to articulate the things that we had to get to the general about space and the things that were going on up there.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. Good for you, though.
Yeah, I miss it at times, but I'm glad to be out, but I'm grateful for the experience.
Yeah, absolutely. What was your first experience with Miltree?
Oh, wow. With Miltree, it's funny. I moved here. Well, I lived down in the Coachella Valley down there, and I moved there in August of 2020. I just moved from New York City. Mm-hmm. Well, once I got settled there, and after COVID and everything died down, I had an opportunity to show my art at College of the Desert. Mm-hmm. And it was a veteran art show there. There was like 5 veterans who were showing our art. And at the reception, I did a couple of my spoken word poems. And Cheryl just happened to be at the reception. And as soon as I finished delivering my poem, she ran right up to me and she just hugged me. She's like, I gotta have you. And I was just like, okay.
Who are you, lady?
And she said, I gotta have you. And she said, we're doing this thing called Live from Joshua Tree. And I want you to be one of the performers. She said, we're doing desert stories. And one of my poems I talked about being over in the Middle East and basically the whole story of how I kind of went to war and got back home. So that's how I got involved with Miltree from there. From Live from Joshua Tree, I just stayed in touch with Cheryl, and I started doing other programs with them. And eventually, me and Cheryl worked together, and I curated my first art show here in California with Miltree.
Oh, congratulations.
Up in 29 Palms.
Cool. Were you at the 29 Palms Art Gallery?
We were at the 29 Palms Welcome Center.
Oh, okay, nice. Yes. Yeah, right downtown.
Mm-hmm.
Super. So when you first sat down to write for this program, did you already know what story you wanted to tell, or did it reveal itself through the process?
It revealed itself through the process. Mm-hmm. Because I wanted to tell something that was meaningful and that I thought would make an impact to the listeners. And for me, just thinking about that period when I was there at war and just how in some ways I was in so much control, but yet at the same time so kind of out of control. And I just wanted to like share that story of like a day in the life of me there in combat, and especially the first day, the day the war began.
Yes.
And I really wanted to share just the vulnerability of that conversation that I had with my mother. And, you see this emotional bond between a mother and a son, and the son is off over about to fight a war, and mother's back in the States working and telling me my little sister and my brother are asking about me, and, just the little things that connected me to home. But yet at the same time, I was telling her, I'm so far away, but yet her love stretched across continents and was able to comfort me right as I was getting ready to transition into combat.
You also talked about gospel music. I don't know if it was actually in the piece or if it was in one of the other pieces you read at one of the workshops. But you mentioned the gospel music bringing you peace when you were deployed.
Yes.
And why do you think that music connected so deeply with you in that environment?
Well, because just being from North Carolina, I was brought up in church, and faith was a big part of just our day-to-day life there. And no matter what I had went through in life, through basic training and everything, I just remember there were times I was running in basic training and I didn't think I was going to make it. And then this song popped into my head that we used to sing at church when I was a kid. And I just started singing that to myself, and it gave me the drive to continue to push through, even though my shins were on fire and my knees were hurting. But yet I realized, I can do anything. I can do anything. And when I went over for the wars, one of the ladies I was stationed with, she sent me a gift package, and she knew that I like gospel music, so she sent me a whole CD with all these new choirs and all this that I never heard before, brand new music. And I listened to that CD so much, and it kept me encouraged while I was over there. And the days when I was afraid, the days when I was unsure, the days when I felt threatened, it was just a constant peace, something that I can, like I said, it carried me through childhood all the way to that moment at war. So it was just something I can latch on to that felt familiar, felt like home, and gave me that reassurance to keep going.
Steadied the ship, as it were.
Steadied the ship, yeah.
So military service creates its own culture and language and way of seeing the world. What was it like finding your place again in civilian life after leaving that environment?
It was challenging. When I first got off active duty, I went back home to North Carolina, and I was there for 3 weeks, and then I had to get out of there, and I ended up moving to New York City.
Yes, I saw something about wanting to be an actor.
Well, after all of that time briefing, once you get good at it and you're standing in front of people and you're doing it each week, you get kind of a rush, because it got to the point I knew the information. I just wanted to see if I can deliver this information in a way that was both informative and entertaining. So that I took that as the challenge when I was briefing, and it just took my briefings to another level to the point that I wasn't the only briefer, but they look forward to my briefing.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
And plus for me, I was shy and I was a little anxious, and just tapping into myself and bringing some of my personality through with my briefing just really put me in my own little lane.
That's awesome. Has writing about your military experiences changed how you process current events involving conflict and war?
It has. I mean, poetry is my love, and I really enjoy writing poetry. It's tricky sometimes, and then the creativity just makes it worth it. And for me, I gave myself a challenge, when it came to poetry. I wanted to tell a story. How do I tell what it was like for the Air Force to go to war? You hear a lot more about the Army and the Marines, but you never hear about how does Air Force go to war? So I wanted to take words words that basically cause trauma to me, to myself. Words like bomb, words like bomb, explosions, all those type of words that go along with war. They used to kind of trigger me a bit, but through creativity, I've been finding ways to take the power back. And then also at that time I was working with jets, with the aircraft, and I was like, how do you describe that? in a poem, and I had a couple of lines kind of like, but like at maximum weapons loadout, the F-15 slowly taxied out to the end of the active runway. Bombs turned lethal. So just trying to find a way to, put that little zip into it and still hold a captive audience, and so it doesn't go out of the realm that they couldn't understand what I was saying. But that's the fun part and the healing part for me.
Mm-hmm. I think that's one of the parts of the piece that you read and created through the program was that checklist of items that you needed to put together before you went, and the delivery was particularly, you actually used some, I guess I will call it, because I don't know the language, I'll call it a callback, when they, attention and, that kind of stuff. That stuck with me when I heard you read that. Like, I could imagine I was there in the room kind of like watching you put these things on your tool belt or in your backpack or however you all put your things together to get ready to go.
Yes, because fortunately enough, I was in the Air Force, so I wasn't in a tent. I was in an actual hard billet dormitory room. I had to share it with 4 other people, but still, at least I had a dormitory. Roof. But once you left from that side of the base to go over to the workings, once you left the base, the area of the base where we all lived at, to the side where the operational flight line and stuff was, it would take you about 45 to 50 minutes through the desert. So I had to make sure that I had everything because I couldn't come all the way back home and then go all the way back to work. So just that checklist, I would go through it daily when I would go out to make sure I had every single thing.
Wow. What do you wish civilians better understood about veterans and military service?
That's an interesting question. In some ways, I wish civilians would see us more. I think a lot of civilians have an image of what a veteran is or what a veteran looks like. So what I love through like writing poetry and writing art, doing my art too, is showing my face that, just as a black male who served in the Air Force, we were there too. And especially like right now in a time where our government is kind of, erasing the service of minority members, we need to speak out now and show our face more than ever, because my experience was valid and you can't take that away. My trauma is here and I can't just give it away. So I wish civilians would see us. And just from the creative aspect, come hear our stories, come hear our poems, come see our art. That's the way you say thank you for your service. Come see our art. If it's for sale, buy our art. I just think thank you for your service just kind of falls flat because the things that I had to do in war, I don't want you to thank me for. I'm trying to forget them myself. So don't thank me for working in a targeting cell and targeting places where the actual bombs were dropped. And so I still wake up to this day every once in a while with nightmares screaming. And I just kind of push myself forward through it. And that's why right now I'm very active in the arts. I do photography, poetry, but I also facilitate workshops because I want other veterans to write. And
you're also curating.
And I'm also curating because I want to create a space for veterans to shine. And the reason I do a lot of this because my mother didn't understand why I was doing all of this art stuff and creative stuff when I first got out as well. And I was just trying to tell her, Mom, through war, I've taken away from people that I don't even know. And now through my facilitating workshops, curating art shows, I do advocacy as well. I get to put back into people that I don't even know. And it kind of balances the trauma a bit. And it heals a bit. And I know the things that I do, I know that's being received well. I get wonderful feedback from the workshops that I lead. And it's just so inspiring because there are days I don't want to do it, or days I just feel bad. And yet once I know that I have to be there for others and I shake everything off, it's so much, it helps me so much. it helps them, but at the same time, it's forcing me to be present.
Yeah. Nice. So for someone listening who may be carrying stories that they haven't shared, whether they are a veteran, active duty, or a civilian, what would you want them to know?
Write. Write it. Get it out of you. If it's going to be something that's going to be a polished product and perform in front of people or not, just writing and getting the trauma out of you helps so much. And I kind of look at it this way as far as writing too. I just really want more female veterans, more minority veterans. Write your story, because our stories aren't being told. Write your stories. We are part of the American fabric. We are a part of American history from the things we did. Write your story.
Thank you for being here today.
Oh, my absolute pleasure.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Rites of Passage, Stories of Service, presented by Milltree Veteran Project. If this conversation resonated with you, I hope you'll share it with a friend. Music for this series is courtesy of participant John Kalb and his fellow songwriters from the Milltree Songwriters Workshop. Recorded at Goat Mountain Studio in Landers, California. To hear more stories like this, support the work, or learn about future workshops, visit mill-tree.org. Until next time, thanks for listening.